In 2001, Algeria emerged from a horrific civil war, now known as the Black Decade, during which Algerian jihadists clashed with state security forces and civilians. Islamist fighters wanted to retake the Algerian state from the Front de Libération Nationale Party, or the FLN, who had ruled it since 1962. Kabylia was largely absent from this conflict. However, the general situation of the country weighed heavily on Kabylia. During the Algerian Civil War, emigration to Europe came to a halt, particularly for the disaffected rural youth. The economic crisis further reduced standards of living, and employment opportunities within the country diminished. Today in cafes, you see people who can't even afford a cigarette. There used to be jobs, weekends, days off. Now, every day feels the same. It's like living a single day, repeated 365 times a year. For many, conscription into the army was the only path to employment, a path that proved deadly for thousands. Let us add that the prospect of an Islamic State, violently fought for by Islamist groups that denied any recognition of Berber culture or history, struck fear into a region proud of its culture and language. The fate of the Berber language is inseparable from the fate of the democratic struggle, because the right to diversity, the right to a language, to a culture, cannot exist under a totalitarian system. It can only exist within a democratic one. Any totalitarian system, whether it is the FIS or any other, is fundamentally opposed to the Berber cause. Economically and socially, Kabylia is marginalized. Social evils such as prostitution, alcohol, and theft are ubiquitous. In most families, financial assistance from one of their emigrant relatives allows them to meet their daily needs. For other families, it is the pensions of their elders that keep them alive. You don't work? Nothing. No job, no factory. How do you survive? Thanks to our parents. And your parents, what do? They worked in France. They're retired? Yes, they're retired. And the future, how do you see it? No hope in Algeria. So most of you live off your parents' pensions? Most of us, yes. Public and private investors are very little present. It is immigrants from France who essentially keep this region alive by investing in local commerce, private transport, or even the purchase of agricultural land. The economy relies largely on the pensions and investments of immigrants living in France, particularly in construction and small businesses. These investments are now compromised, on the one hand by the concern of immigrants who are hesitant to invest in the country, and on the other hand by the predictable exhaustion of the pensions of returning immigrants, who are getting older. Moreover, the civil war that began in the 1990s between the Islamists and the state discouraged many immigrants to come and stay in the region of origin, causing a significant lack of financial resources. The period of terrorism which hit the country, and the difficult economic and social conditions, crystallized around the death of a young man called Massini Sang. His death became the final spark, the moment that ignited a long-simmering collective frustration. By 2001, the prospect of an Islamic victory faded. Violence and terrorism did not disappear, far from it, but the ALN and the state have won the fight. President Bouteflika elected in April 1999, on the strength of these hard-won successes, was soon considering an amnesty and national reconciliation. However, Kabyle youth are reaching their boiling point. Struck by poverty, isolation, and systemic discrimination, including the lack of official recognition for their language, the Kabyle youth wanted to seize this opportunity to reclaim their identity. 21 years after the Berber Spring, Kabyle youth erupted in response to abusive police violence. We have a rich culture, but on television they force the Arab culture on us. It feels like this country doesn't belong to us, like it belongs to someone else. The arrest of the young high school student Massini Sangermah by the gendarme on April 18, 2001, and his death in the gendarmerie premises on April 20, 2001, were perceived by the population as unjust and as an attack on the rights of individuals. This deeply rooted sense of injustice is known as tamuh qaranith. There's no justice. They stop you at checkpoints, take your papers, and tell you, go complain to your God. What kind of justice is that? So even if he's armed, I'll throw a rock at him. Either he kills me or I kill him. The death of young Massini Sangermah, experienced as a real feeling of collective injustice, pushed young Kabyles to lead a genuine urban guerrilla war against the gendarmes, representatives of the Algerian state. In Kabylia, there has always been a difficult cohabitation between the population and the gendarmes. The latter are perceived as symbols of central power. Many testimonies report regular abuse on their part. In the 2001 demonstrations, young Kabyles denounced the abuses committed on several occasions by the gendarmes, the non-respect of their rights, but also their difficult social living conditions. The citizen demonstrations of 2001 questioned the separation of religion and the state, human rights, rights to identity, but above all, the right to citizenship. Kabylia then plunged into a period of violence. Violence spread quickly and gave way to an uncontrollable situation. The political parties present, overwhelmed by the situation, had no control over events and no real solution to propose. As for the state, it responded with police brutality, in this case inflicted by the gendarmerie. The most violent period spanned 1 month, from April 20th to May 21st, 2001, marked by a peak between April 22nd and 28th, when 50 young people died. The police did not hesitate to shoot the demonstrators with live ammunition. On May 21st, 2001, the Kabyles organized the largest demonstration ever seen in Kabylia, which brought together more than 500,000 people in Tizi Ouzou. It is the beginning of the Black Spring of Kabylia. Still facing repression, Kabylia as a whole organized in Algiers, on June 14, 2001, the most massive popular march in the history of independent Algeria. All estimates exceed the figure of 1 million people. This movement is called the Black Spring, both in reference to the Berber Spring of 1980, where the Kabyles demonstrated for the recognition of the Berber identity in Algeria, but also in reference to the violence of these demonstrations. These 2001 demonstrations took place throughout Kabylia, and then spread to several regions of Algeria. In April 2002, the Berber language was recognized as a component of Algerian national identity. But apart from that, the riots and political demands, closely followed by the international press, have not produced many results. Worse, they have even increased isolation and distrust of a traditionally rebellious region. Faced with this popular movement in a densely populated region, the authorities first organized a withdrawal of security forces, notably the gendarmerie, hated by the demonstrators. With the state absent and institutions paralyzed, the population and its leaders were left without support and without solutions. Crime surged, dashing hopes for a democratic progress.